Welcome to the Stellar Zone. Stellar Sales Alliance is your manufacturer's representative group with solutions for growing your business. Serving the pool and spa industry for over 30 years. We will achieve your sales goals that were once out of reach. Enter the new decade with your stellar team.
Welcome to the Stellar Zone, everyone. My name is Fernando Barrigan.
And I'm Chris Clayton.
And we are the hosts for today's podcast. This episode will be available on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and can be found in audio format on Anchor, SoundCloud, Spotify, as well as Apple. We are very excited about this episode today on waterproofing. And today's guests are George Reedy and Trevor Foster from Miracote Waterproofing Products, top manufacturer in the USA. Chris, why don't you give us a little overview?
Sure. Miracote offers a comprehensive array of waterproofing, restoration, repair, and construction systems for pools, spas, pool decks. Fernando?
Yeah, thank you for that, Chris. So George and Trevor, welcome to this episode of the Stellar Zone, gentlemen. We're very, very excited to have you on here today. And one of the things that we'd like to do is just talk a little bit about the product line, talk a little bit about Miracote and the great products that you guys have. I know that, you know, waterproofing, when I started in waterproofing about 8 years ago, it was only spec for suspended pools. And there's always been this mystery that's surrounded waterproofing. But what's happened nowadays is that builders are starting to use it on all types of projects, and they're starting to understand it a little bit more. So with that said, George, why don't we begin with you? Can you tell us a little bit about your history and also a little bit about Miracote?
Well, start with my history. Coming right out of high school, prior to going to college, I was fortunate to get a job at a road materials facility where you got gravel, and I was a truck dispatcher. And I had no idea what I wanted to do in the future, but I fell in love with construction just based on that job. During my college, I worked in the plant, labored, ran equipment, all sorts of stuff. But construction was in my blood from that going forward. Also, part of the plant was we had a precast plant, and I got involved in precast concrete, and that just took my focus into new concrete production, and that led me into concrete design. Went to work out of college, went to work for an admixture company that sold, ready mix admixtures for concrete, and got into mixed design. I did that for a number of years, and eventually recognized, read an article in Concrete International about the future was restoration and waterproofing, and I decided that's what I wanted to do. And in the late 70s, I went to work for a company called Sika Corporation, which specialized in waterproofing, restoration, and protection. And eventually, that led to me at some point became a contractor, waterproofing contractor in the DC area. And used during the course of that, for the years I was there, we used a lot of Miracote products for waterproofing and restoration in the DC area. And in 2006, I was at the World of Concrete, met with the president of Crossfield Products, and it was just a coincidence that I complimented him on our products that Miracote had. And he asked if I would be interested in talking about coming to work for Crossfield.
Excellent.
That brings me to today. At the same time, Trevor Foster, who's there, we joined the company around the same time, and here I am today. The national marketing manager for Miracote. And regarding the Crossfield products in our history. We've been around since the 1930s. Crossfield is the namesake of a gentleman by the name of Jack Crossfield, who was the first to patent the use of latex, natural rubber latex, with cement, which by nature the two were incompatible. and he patented it. And the first projects where polymer modified cementitious products were used was in the marine industry. And the first projects we had was the waterproofing of the ship deck of the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth. And that type of material was ideal for an ocean-going vessel because it was waterproof, it was lightweight, and it was ideal for that purpose. And now fast forward to today, the polymers have all changed. Now they're synthetic. You have dry polymers, you have liquid polymers, and Crossfield Products opened a division over the years. We used to sell direct to the marine industry, and in the 70s, we opened the Miracote division, which was dedicated to sell only to independent construction supply houses. And today that still lasts. We, as a division, we do not sell direct. We only sell through distribution, and we do that so our distributor partners can inventory our material and be the presence of our company in our local geographic markets.
Great. Thank you so much for that, George. Trevor, the Miracote system consists of a few main products. You've got the Aqua Block XL, Miracote Membrane C. You also have the Miracote BC Pro. Now, what I want you to do is take a few minutes, tell us a little bit about each. But before we do that, why don't you tell us a little bit about Trevor?
Sure. My name's Trevor Foster, and kind of this George's term, I've never worked for a manufacturer before coming to work for Miracote. Always been a contractor. So my first job out of high school, really while I was in college in Colorado, was working for a pool company. And I was in the pool side, cleaning pools, opening pools, shocking pools, and the owner of the company, Mr. Steve Hutchinson, had opened up or bought into a franchise, which was Sundeck Products, which I'm sure you all have heard of in Florida, Texas, California. It used to be really big. So I got into doing overlays, and that really brought me into where we're at. How Miracote came about is we were having a few issues in Colorado with freeze thaw and delaminations and whatnot. So a gentleman that's still working for us, he's our Midwest manager, Jim Rowe, came in and found us and said, hey, I'd like to introduce you all to Miracote and, the flexibility of the MPC and blah, 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 blah. So we ended up, starting to install Miracote, became probably the largest installer of Miracote in Colorado. And, one thing led to another. When I got out of school, I opened up my own contracting company doing waterproofing, restoration, decorative concrete, started using a lot more Miracote specifically because it worked, and eventually was brought on as a quote-unquote consultant for Miracote to do trainings, tech assists, and so forth. And then in 2006, as George has mentioned, uprooted my family out of Colorado, moved to California to be a sales manager and a technical salesperson for Miracote. And that's where I'm at today. I currently live in San Antonio, Texas, and handle the West Coast. Also handle a lot of the waterproofing of waterscapes, what we call waterscapes. We don't want to niche it just to pools and spas because there's so many other bodies of water out there that we can waterproof or treat. So yeah, it's been really fun. And been a very big integral part of building this system. I mean, it took us a while to learn the goods and the bads of what was already out there when we first kind of launched this in 2010, 2011. And obviously we've added on to it, we've built it, we've made it better, but always kind of sticking with that systems approach. And, Fernando, you mentioned, we have three core products that make up our waterproofing waterscape line. We have a lot of ancillaries, but the reason we have three main products is you can't just have a waterproof membrane to waterproof a pool. It's going to help, but it's not going to eliminate or reduce a lot of the other factors that George and I learned going to National Plasters Councils, going to international pool and spa shows, and kind of learning everybody that had either failed or semi-competed in that industry, but they just didn't have a full system. So with George's history and my history, we kind of started looking at what we already had in our product line. We didn't have to go and remake something and try and formulate this and that. We already had all these materials. What we did is we added it into a hopper and cherry picked our material line and ended up making a systems approach with the help of some other industry professionals. For instance, a Rick Nelson, a Ken Milbury, and then my George and myself. But so the AquaBlock XL is a very critical component of a pool design, any body of water. And really what it does is it's been promoted many different ways in many different segments and by many different manufacturers as a hardener, a densifier, whatnot. But truly what it is it's really to greatly reduce or even stop the migration of efflorescence through a gunite or a shotcrete or concrete structure. And that's really what we rely on it for, is because if we're not stopping the root or the source of the problem, any membrane's going to fail, any bond coat's going to fail, any thin set bonded mortar is going to fail. So by having that at the shell where a lot of this happens is crucial. And what that does is AquaBlock XL is a colloidal silicate. It forms a hydrogel. It reacts with the calcium hydrate, makes that from a soluble to an insoluble material, thus not allowing it to ingress and egress through the shell and either cause chemical damage at the bond line or unsightly aesthetics at the tile or on the plaster or through the grout. So that's kind of our first step. Excuse me. The Miracote Membrane C is a dual component, highly flexible cementitious membrane. Okay. So when we say it's highly flexible, is it as flexible as a styrene butadiene rubber or an elastomeric? No. But because of its cementitious properties, being what we have is it's considered highly flexible because it is a concrete-based product. The beauty of the membranes is it's vapor permeable from the negative side, which allows us to do partial areas. So we can do a tile line, we can do a raised spot, we can do an infinity edge, not having to go from bond beam to trough. So we can just allow our contractors to do areas that are obviously elevated in and out of the water, that space thermal expansion, and just do those areas and not having to do the entire pool. Okay. And then third, the Miracote BC Pro. The BC Pro we have, and we have it for two different reasons. When we first launched our waterproofing systems approach, the bond coat was there to protect the membrane. Again, as you mentioned, Fernando, 7-10 years ago, we were only waterproofing elevated pools, suspended pools that were either cantilevered over occupied space. So in that, we were doing from bond beam to trough. And once we get done waterproofing, then obviously the plaster company's coming into plaster. Well, you got to protect the membrane. It's cementitious, so it's not 4 inches of concrete, and it is softer than your conventional, cementitious material. So when the company comes into plaster, they're running spikes, they're dragging hoses, they're dragging couplings, and we need to protect our membrane. That's where the BC Pro came about. But what we've learned over these past 10 years is a lot of plaster companies love our bond coat. So now we've seen an influx of plaster companies buying our bond coat to do remodels, to do new pools, even without a membrane when they're just doing the plastering, is they're using our BC Pro to obviously create better adhesion to a gunite or a shotcrete shell, or when they're doing a chip out and not chipping out all the plaster to get plaster to plaster adhesion mechanically. And that's what our BC Pro is really there for, is protecting the membrane, allowing the plaster to adhere to a membrane mechanical wise, right? And then lastly is to allow, because a bond coat's going to be a little more absorptive, it's going to allow that plaster to absorb into it and create a bond, and then hydrate in and hydrate out as well. And that's really, in a nutshell, why we have all three of those products along with our ancillaries.
Thank you, Trevor. Now, in our industry, waterproofing is becoming more prevalent, and there's more and more companies out there that are getting into the category. You guys have been in it for a long, long time. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes Miracote, the Miracote system, different from other products that are out in the market?
Absolutely, for sure. I think the biggest reason, George hit on it, we've been a manufacturer since the 30s. We're not going anywhere. We've been in it a long time. Our founder patented taking a glue and adding it to cement and sand. So, just in that fact, we are a long-standing manufacturer versus a lot of them that are out there today. Secondly, I think we have probably some of the best sales support in the nation. I've competed against a lot of these companies for many years, but having, you and Chris on board, having myself, having George, having some of our other reps in these other states, they're able to get into pools, show application, talk technically, talk specification wise, and not just be reading off a piece of literature or a tech data sheet and not having any hands-on. So I think that really sets us apart. We have very good geographical coverage and we're tech savvy. And again, we mentioned it before, we have a systems approach. You can start with our aquablock, our colloidal silicate, and finish with our mortar bed or our membrane C, depending on if you're doing tile or plaster, and using all one product, all one manufacturer. So as a distribution company, as a speccing firm, as a contractor, you now have one manufacturer responsible for 90% of that build. To where when before we got in it, you'd be building a pool that was cantilevered or elevated, and you'd have 7 or 8 manufacturers. God forbid, we're in construction, things go wrong. When some would go wrong, you'd have 8 manufacturers pointing the other direction at the other manufacturer. So I think giving people peace of mind, like I said, if you're the builder, if you're the sub, you're the owner, you're the designer, you're the distributor, having one manufacturer responsible for predominantly the majority of that build is a huge, huge advantage for us. And again, I think the biggest thing is the flexibility of our membrane. There's a lot of companies that have came about since we got into this, and they're promoting it can be a flexible membrane, an all-in-one membrane bond coat. There's a lot of different things out there of what they want to see and how they want to promote it. But when you look at our membrane at 60 mils, you can just see how flexible membrane C truly is. I mean, we can bend this piece in half and not see any type of tear, crack, anything. So if we look at our membrane C compared to what a lot of our competitors out there are promoting of a flexible membrane, you see when I take this and bend that, you see what happens to that one that's on the left side of that screen? I mean, you can see just how not flexible or rigid these material are. So you have membrane C here, you have a competitor's material here. And like I said, as we bend this piece, you can just see how much of advantage we have. And why is that important is the Tile Council of North America has specified that P602-19 wanting a membrane over the mortar bed. So what is that doing? That's handling thermal expansion and expansion of just different building materials. We want to remain flexible. We don't want to be too flexible to cause cracking, but we want to remain flexible. And again, I'm just going to go back to this piece here. When I bend this, you can see competitor membrane C, you can see the difference of just we truly are a flexible membrane. So I think that is first and foremost what really sets us apart. Coming into a new market in Texas, obviously as well as Florida, talking to y'all, is our membrane C, because of the polymer we use, when you apply it, it's a purpley color. Okay, and that's due to what, especially when we're using natural or we're using the white color powder, it's a purple tinge. That's due to the polymer. The beauty of that is, as soon as that goes to either a charcoal if you're using a natural or a white if you're using our white powder, you're ready to recoat. So South Florida in the middle of May or June, you can literally be doing your second coat hour and a half, 2 hours later. In South Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Southern California, Hawaii, we could be recoating within an hour and a half or 2 hours, which, as we know in pool building, it's very accentuated how fast they want these jobs done. So being able to visually see when that first coat of membrane C is dry to do a second coat, it gives us a big advantage. I never thought much about that until I started hearing it from contractors, themselves saying, hey, this is great. We can get 2 coats down in a half day or 1 day. We're ready to move on to the next process tomorrow, which, like I said, that's a big advantage because some of the competitors out there make you wait 10, 12, 24 hours before you do that second coat. And what we're doing is we're decreasing the build time to waterproof a pool, which is huge.
That's awesome, Trevor. Thank you so much. A bunch of great information. I love the props as well. That shows us how flexible you guys are. And I love that demonstration, seeing that our competitors were cracking under pressure. Blue to gray the same day. That's amazing, because I know that contractors are always looking to finish as quickly as possible. So thank you for that. Those are great information. George, can you please tell us a little bit about the Learning Center? I've been on their website a bunch of times, and I go, you guys have a great website. It's full of great information. It's a really, really good tool. Tell us a little bit and elaborate a little bit on that Learning Center that you guys have on your website.
Well, we have the Learning Center. It's a resource for contractors, consultants, distributors, and what I'd like to start out with too, when we're talking about what we call our core market, recreational water, pool, and spa, we also have our other core market, which is called restoration, waterproofing, and protection, which deals with building balconies, parking structures, and whatnot. And so I would like to say to the audience, are you a pool products distributor, or are you a construction products distributor, which includes pools? So with Miracote and the Learning Center, that opens up doors outside of the pool industry, because you got contractors all around there that may do pools. They may do other types of product construction projects as well, and that really expands your ability to increase your sales and open up other markets to you. And on the Learning Center, we have our case histories. We have submittal packages. So if a contractor has a pool project, has a parking structure project, they can go on the website and click on submittal packages, get soup to nuts, everything that they need to submit to an architect or an engineer. We have our chemical resistance charts. We have testing on there. We have 3-part spec guides. If you're working with a consultant, you want to get a spec done. I mean, virtually, it's our encyclopedia of everything technical, everything that anybody will need, color charts, you name it, case studies again. And you'll see on the website SMS documents, which is strictly strategic marketing systems documents, which and again, that's what we're all about. You're our waterproofing dynamic systems approach, and that applies towards our just about anything. It's always a system, and to get back even to the AquaBlock product, it's used in all sorts of projects on concrete. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up is on there we have it tested towards what it was called the Bureau of Reclamation's M82 testing protocol, which was for the mitigation of corrosion of reinforcing steel. That document basically has given proof that our AquaBlock XL does work. It mitigated corrosion at a rate of 95% confidence limit, and it's really, of all the systems approaches we have, it's probably one of the most important products that should be used in virtually any concrete restoration or waterproofing project. So again, it's a very important web page on our Learning Center, and we have videos, which Trevor has worked with a filming company showing the application of our products, from crack repair to the application of the membrane C. And in the future, we do have plans to produce more videos, for the benefit of distributor salespeople as well as contractors who are buying our products.
That's great. The more information, the better. George, Trevor, that was excellent, gentlemen. Thank you so much for spending time with us today in the Stellar Zone. We appreciate all of the information, the great waterproofing products that you guys have brought out to the market. with under the Miracote umbrella. And we look forward to what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris?
So just an overview today, Miracote's been around since about 1930 and have come out with a lot of different products. Some of their three core products are AquaBlock XL for waterproofing the concrete and hardening or densifying the concrete to prevent water intrusion through the shell of the pool. And then we have the Membrane C, which is for waterproofing and is very flexible and also offers a notification or a way of letting you know that it's dried and cured and ready for a second coat by going from blue to gray. Then we also have our Miracote BC Pro, which protects the membrane and allows the plaster to adhere to the Membrane C. So that's all for today. Thank you guys very much for the information and for sharing your knowledge with us. We very much appreciate it.
And we thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Y'all be
Thank you,
safe.
everyone, for joining us today. Stay tuned on social media for our next episode of the Stellar Zone. Stay safe and stay healthy.